Hi, I'm Chris Muchler, VCDX 257 from VirtualElephant.com, and in this video I'm going to review with you what I call the Architecture Lifecycle. As both a VMware Certified Design Expert and TOGAF Enterprise Architect, I've taken these two frameworks and combined them into a way to be able to describe to customers and stakeholders how to apply an architecture lifecycle to their environments. I'll review with you the 4 phases of the architecture lifecycle and show you how you can apply these to your organizations. So let's get started. Customizing and adapting frameworks to suit specific organizational needs is a common practice in the field of enterprise architecture. The architecture lifecycle that I have developed has 4 main areas: architecture vision, implementation, operationalization, and the maturity assessment, to provide a simplified and customer-centric view of the architecture process. By simplifying the architecture process into these 4 main areas, we can provide a clear and customer-oriented view of the lifecycle, making it more accessible and understanding for stakeholders. This architecture lifecycle framework aims to ensure a holistic approach to architecture that covers strategic planning, execution, and ongoing evaluation. It's important to note that the effectiveness of any framework or lifecycle model depends on the specific needs and context of the organization. As long as the architecture lifecycle framework meets the requirements and provides value to the organizations you work with, it can serve as a useful guide for architecture initiatives. The architecture vision phase is the starting point. Here we dive into understanding the business objectives and defining the architectural vision. We work closely with stakeholders to identify their needs, challenges, and desired outcomes. By aligning the architecture with the strategic direction of the organization, we create a roadmap for success. This phase involves setting goals, identifying stakeholders, and defining high-level requirements and scope. It's the foundation that guides the entire architecture. This phase aligns well with the TOGAF Architecture Development Method, or ADM, where the strategic vision and direction is established. Moving on to the implementation phase, this is where the real magic happens. With the defined vision in mind, we proceed to design and implement the architecture. From the VCDX perspective, we dive deep into the technical details and intricacies of designing and implementing VMware-based architectures. Similarly, from a TOGAF perspective, this phase is where we dive deeper into the technical details to develop detailed architecture designs, selecting appropriate technologies, and overseeing the implementation process. We carefully consider factors such as scalability, performance, security, and integration. By leveraging the best practices and expertise of both frameworks, we bring the architecture to life. Now let's talk about the operationalization phase. This phase focuses on deploying and managing the architecture in the operational environment. It aligns with the operational aspects of the VCDX framework, where we ensure smooth operations and ongoing management of the implemented architectures. From the TOGAF perspective, this phase corresponds to phases E, G, and F, where we transition to the new architecture, manage change, ensure governance, and monitor performance. By leveraging the operational expertise from the VCDX and the governance and transition practices from TOGAF, we ensure the architecture's success in the real world. The majority of our time in the architecture lifecycle is spent in this phase, as we are running the environments day to day, deploying new applications and workloads, and performing general software and hardware lifecycle management activities. Lastly, we have the maturity assessment phase, which aligns with the ongoing improvement aspects of both frameworks. In the VCDX framework, maturity assessment involves evaluating the effectiveness and value of the implemented VMware technologies. Similarly, in our architecture lifecycle, we assess the maturity of the architecture, measure performance, identify areas for improvement, and recommend optimization efforts. Both frameworks emphasize the need for continuous evaluation and refinement to ensure the architecture remains valuable and aligned with business objectives. This phase is often overlooked by organizations because we generally are so hyper-focused on running the infrastructure and applications. However, this phase is critical to our ability to provide feedback to the organizations, teams, and business on where we are being successful and areas for improvement. The maturity assessment should become a regular occurrence within our organizations and is an opportunity to mature as an organization. That brings us to the end of our discussion on the Architecture Lifecycle framework that I've developed. I hope that you can see how I've combined both the power of the TOGAF ADM and the VCDX certification to come up with a simplified approach as we discuss with our stakeholders and organizations how to mature our environments and architectures that we've developed. As enterprise architects, I hope that you're able to see the value and are able to adapt this framework to your individual organizations. Please consider smashing that subscribe button and like and comment below and let me know what you think and the success that you have with this framework.